Alright, cosmic voyagers, welcome. Settle in. Let the day's static discharge into the void. You've made it through another rotation of this rather peculiar planet, and now, it's time to trade the earthly cacophony for something a little grander. And as is our way here at Cosmic Bedtime Stories, something a little more unsettlingly honest, wrapped in the velvet glove of impending slumber. Tonight, we're not just gazing at the distant, glittering specks. Oh no, we're taking a little trip, a mental jaunt, if you will, to visit a neighbor. A very, very large neighbor. One who, despite its perpetually foul mood and frankly terrifying appearance, might just be the reason you're not currently a rapidly cooling smear of organic matter on a rogue space rock. Charming, isn't it? We're off to see Jupiter. Our solar system's grumpy, gassy, gargantuan bodyguard. Think of it as the cosmic equivalent of that enormous, scowling bouncer outside the universe's slightly dodgy nightclub, the one you're vaguely intimidated by but also profoundly grateful for when things get a bit rowdy. Tonight, we're sidling up to this celestial heavyweight, not to pick a fight. Heavens no, that would be inadvisable and rather short-lived, but to understand it a little better. To appreciate its unique contributions to our continued, improbable existence. And in doing so, to perhaps feel a little smaller, a little more humbled, and paradoxically, a lot more relaxed. Because sometimes, contemplating the sheer, violent, indifferent majesty of something that could extinguish you without a second thought is precisely what you need to forget about that passive-aggressive email from Brenda in accounts. Perspective, darling, it's all about perspective. So take a slow, deep breath. Let the air fill your lungs, a rather precious commodity as we'll soon appreciate. And as you exhale, imagine the walls of your room dissolving, the ceiling peeling back to reveal not the familiar night sky, but the inky, star-dusted canvas of interplanetary space. You're weightless, cocooned in a comfortable, perfectly climate-controlled bubble of imagination. Don't worry about the pesky details like vacuum, radiation, or the crushing loneliness of the void just yet. We'll get to those little cosmic pick-me-ups later. For now, it's all about the gentle drift. We're moving out past the orbit of Mars, that dusty red orb that gets so much press. Cute, but a bit of an underachiever in the grand scheme of planetary protection, if we're being brutally honest. We're heading towards the real muscle of the solar system. Even from this distance, as we cross the asteroid belt, a surprisingly sparse scattering of cosmic rubble, not the dense minefield popular culture would have you believe, though still peppered with enough potential doombringers to keep things interesting, you begin to sense it. Not see it, not yet, but sense it. A gravitational presence. A subtle tug, a warp in the fabric of space-time, like the faintest tremor announcing the approach of something colossal. This is Jupiter's domain, the outer solar system. Things are different out here. Colder. Darker. The sun, our usually boisterous star, is now a distant, brilliant point, still powerful, but less like an all-encompassing furnace and more like a very bright, very expensive spotlight in a vast, empty theater. And in this theater, Jupiter is undeniably the star of the show. Or perhaps, more accurately, the enormous, brooding stage manager who ensures the smaller actors don't get squashed by falling props. As we drift closer, a pale, creamy disk begins to resolve itself against the black. It grows steadily, relentlessly, until it fills your imaginary viewport. And the first thing that strikes you, even before its scale truly sinks in, is the sheer, unadulterated grumpiness of it. It's not serene like Saturn with its elegant rings, nor invitingly blue like Neptune. Jupiter is a maelstrom, a seething, swirling, banded chaos of whites, ochres, reds, and browns. It looks agitated, permanently, like it's been woken up too early on a Monday morning for several billion years straight. Narrator, slight pause as if considering this, which, to be fair, given the constant bombardment it endures, might not be far from the truth. This, dear listener, is the cosmic night light we're here to appreciate. A lamp so vast its glow is actually reflected sunlight, bouncing off a churning atmosphere thousands of kilometers deep. An atmosphere that, from this safe distance, looks like a painter's palette knife has been taken to it with furious, almost violent, artistry. Beautiful, yes, in a terrifying, glad I'm not, sort of way. Those bands you see, those elegant stripes that wrap around the planet? Those are zones and belts of rising and falling gases, driven by winds that would make Earth's most ferocious hurricane look like a gentle summer breeze. We're talking speeds of hundreds of kilometers per hour, sustained, unrelenting across a stage wider than a dozen Earths. And nestled within these bands, the most famous beauty spot of all, the Great Red Spot. Sounds rather quaint, doesn't it? Like a charming feature on a celestial tea cozy. In reality, it's an anticyclonic storm, a swirling vortex of crimson rage so vast it could swallow our entire planet whole, with room to spare for a couple of moons as an appetizer. It's been raging for at least 350 years, possibly longer. Imagine a hurricane on Earth lasting for 3.5 centuries. Makes you think twice about complaining when the weather forecast is merely gray and miserable, doesn't it? This is our guardian. This colossal, perpetually stormy, distinctly uncuddly ball of gas and liquid. It doesn't smile. It doesn't wave. It doesn't send encouraging postcards. Just is. And in its being, in its sheer, overwhelming mass and its furious, chaotic energy, it performs a service for which we rarely give thanks. Perhaps tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you'll begin to understand why this celestial grump deserves a quiet nod of gratitude. Or at least, a healthy dose of respectful fear, which, in the cosmic scheme of things, is often the same thing. Let that image settle. The vast, striped, stormy face of Jupiter. The silent, powerful, indifferent giant hanging in the void. Its grumbles are not whispers but planet-shaking storms. Its bad mood is a permanent atmospheric condition. And yet, as we will explore, this very immensity, this very turmoil, is a key to our quiet nights and peaceful dreams here on our fragile blue marble. The universe, it turns out, has a wonderfully ironic sense of humor when it comes to doling out protection. Often, salvation comes not in shining armor, but in the guise of a very, very big bully who just happens to scare off the other, meaner bullies. So, nestle deeper into your weightless cocoon. The journey has just begun. We're about to feel the true measure of this giant, to understand the sheer, mind-boggling scale of our solar system's bouncer, and why its presence, for all its apparent hostility, is a profoundly good thing for tiny, breakable creatures like us. The swirling, painted face of Jupiter still fills your imaginary view, a masterpiece of violent chemistry and colossal fluid dynamics. But now let's try to truly feel its presence. Not just see it, but to comprehend, in that soft, sleepy part of your mind, the sheer, unadulterated bigness of this celestial entity. Because understanding Jupiter's protective role, its accidental heroism, begins with appreciating its almost comical immensity. And by extension, our own rather delightful, almost absurd, cosmic smallness. It's a humbling thought, yes, but humility, I find, is an excellent precursor to deep sleep. Hard to stay stressed about TPS reports when you're contemplating a planet that could use Earth as a gumball. Imagine, if you will, taking our home, our Earth, with all its mountains, oceans, bustling cities, and that one particularly annoying pigeon that keeps roosting outside your window, and holding it in your hand like a marble. A pretty, blue-green marble, veined with clouds. Now, imagine you have a very, very large bag. A bag so capacious it seems almost infinite. You could drop over 1,300 of those Earth marbles into that bag, and it still wouldn't be full. That bag, dear listener, is Jupiter. It's not just big, it's, well, big feels like such an inadequate little word, doesn't it? Like calling a supernova a bit of a flash. Jupiter's volume is so vast that all the other planets in our solar system, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, even poor, demoted Pluto, bless its icy heart, could fit comfortably inside it, with room left over for a few 100,000 of their respective moons and a generous helping of comets and asteroids, just for seasoning. It's the undisputed heavyweight champion, holding more than twice the mass of all those other planets combined. Think of it, everything else in the solar system that isn't the sun itself is basically just planetary shrapnel compared to Jupiter. And it's not just about volume, that easily imagined or misimagined sense of space. It's about mass, the sheer stuff of Jupiter. If Earth tips the cosmic scales at a certain weight, Jupiter is more than 318 times heavier. 318 Earths, crushed down and compacted to form this one colossal sphere. This mass is key. It's the source of Jupiter's gravitational superpower, its invisible scepter that rules the outer solar system and, as we'll see, extends its influence even into our relatively cozy inner neighborhood. Now, let's try to put ourselves there, not in a way that involves immediate and messy disintegration, but in a gentle, imaginative sense. If you could somehow stand on a platform just above Jupiter's cloud tops, ignoring the lethal radiation, the crushing gravity, the lack of breathable anything, minor details for a thought experiment, and you were to drop a stone, it wouldn't just fall. It would plummet. The surface gravity on Jupiter, if you could define a surface on a gas giant, which you can't, but let's not get bogged down in planetary semantics, is about 2.5 times that of Earth. Imagine feeling 2.5 times heavier than you do right now. Every limb a lead weight. Your chest struggling to rise with each breath, even if there were air. It's a pressure, a relentless, crushing embrace that speaks of immense power. It's the kind of gravity that doesn't just hold onto its own atmosphere with a possessive grip, but also nonchalantly snatches passing space rocks, herds asteroids like a cosmic sheepdog, and generally rearranges the solar system's furniture to its liking. You, in that scenario, would feel profoundly, unequivocally small. Not insignificant in a depressing way, but small in a way that makes the universe feel appropriately vast and your own existence a rather charming, improbable miracle. Oh, look at me, you might think, a tiny speck of organized matter briefly contemplating a behemoth. How quaint. And this giant isn't solid, not in the way our rocky Earth is. It's a gas giant, a term that sounds almost cuddly like a giant, gassy teddy bear. It is not. It's primarily hydrogen and helium, the same light ethereal stuff that makes up the sun. In fact, Jupiter's composition is remarkably similar to that of a star. It's just not quite big enough to ignite nuclear fusion in its core. A failed star, some call it. A cosmic contender that didn't quite make the stellar major league. If it had been just a bit more massive, perhaps 80 times more so, our solar system would be a binary star system with 2 suns in the sky. Imagine the sunscreen budget. Imagine the completely different, likely far more hostile conditions for life on Earth. Our existence, in its current, relatively comfortable form, hinges on Jupiter being a giant, yes, but not quite a stellar giant. A subtle but crucial distinction. Thank you for your underachievement, Jupiter. We appreciate your C in Stellar Ignition 101. This sheer scale also means that Jupiter is, in a way, its own internal heat source. It radiates more heat into space than it receives from the distant sun. This isn't nuclear fusion, not like a star, but the result of slow gravitational contraction, a process called the Kelvin-Helmholtz mechanism. Essentially, the planet is still slowly, almost imperceptibly, shrinking under its own immense weight, and this compression generates heat. So, it's not just a cold, passive reflector of sunlight. There's an internal furnace rumbling deep within, contributing to the wild, chaotic weather patterns we see on its surface. It's a dynamic, living, in a planetary sense, of course, entity constantly churning, constantly radiating. As you float there, in your imaginary safe haven, feeling this immensity, try to let go of human scales. Our lives are measured in decades, our structures in meters or kilometers. Jupiter operates on a different plane. Its days are less than 10 Earth hours long, the fastest rotation of any planet in our solar system, which contributes to its slightly flattened, oblate spheroid shape and the ferocious speed of its winds. But its year, the time it takes to orbit the sun once, is nearly 12 Earth years. Everything about it is amplified, exaggerated. This isn't just trivia, interesting facts to be filed away. This is the character profile of our protector. Its size, its mass, its gravity, its internal heat, its rapid spin. These are the attributes that make it such an effective, if unintentional, guardian of the inner solar system. It's like knowing the stats of your favorite superhero, except this one is real, and its superpower is simply being extraordinarily, unapologetically big. And as we're beginning to appreciate, a little bit grumpy about it. So breathe in that sense of scale. Feel the slight, almost imperceptible tug of its gravity even from your conceptual distance. Acknowledge your own smallness, not as a source of fear, but as a simple, relaxing truth. You are a tiny, wondrous fleck of consciousness, momentarily contemplating a celestial giant. And that giant, in its vast, unthinking way, is about to show us how it keeps the cosmic riffraff from knocking on our door. Let that thought settle, a comforting weight as you drift deeper into the quiet of space and the quiet of your mind. Having absorbed the sheer, almost ludicrous scale of Jupiter, let's now drift a little closer, not physically plunging into its unwelcoming embrace, but allowing our mind's eye to zoom in on that swirling, tumultuous face. We're here to observe the portrait of what can only be described as a perpetual, planetary rage. It's a chaotic beauty, yes, but one that speaks volumes about the forces at play, and perhaps offers a strange kind of lullaby in its relentless, indifferent fury. After all, if something that angry can exist for billions of years, perhaps your own fleeting frustrations are, in cosmic terms, rather manageable. The first thing that captivates you are the bands, those iconic stripes of color that wrap around Jupiter like the markings on some colossal, celestial serpent. These are not mere surface decorations. These are visible manifestations of immense atmospheric currents, known as zones and belts. The lighter-colored zones are regions of upwelling gas, ammonia ice crystals high in the atmosphere giving them their pale hue. Think of them as planetary-scale convection cells, where warmer material from deep within Jupiter rises, cools, and then sinks back down in the darker belts. The belts, richer in complex organic compounds and perhaps sulfur, which contribute to their reddish-brown and tan colors, are where this cooler gas descends. It sounds almost orderly when described like that, doesn't it? Rising and falling like a gentle breath. But the reality is anything but gentle. The boundaries between these zones and belts are sites of incredible shear, where winds moving in opposite directions at hundreds of kilometers per hour grind against each other. Imagine two continent-sized conveyor belts, loaded with clouds, rubbing past one another with the force of 1,000 hurricanes. The turbulence, the eddies, the smaller storms spun off from these interactions are beyond anything Earth could ever produce. Our most violent weather is a mere hiccup compared to the daily grind on Jupiter. And then there's the star of this stormy show, the Great Red Spot. We've mentioned it, but it deserves a closer, more contemplative gaze. It's not just a spot, it's an ancient, enduring vortex, an anticyclone, a high-pressure system that has been observed for centuries. Its color, a striking rusty red, is still something of a scientific mystery. Perhaps its complex organic molecules or phosphorus or sulfur compounds, dredged up from deeper within the atmosphere and chemically altered by sunlight. The truth is, we don't know for sure, which adds a delightful layer of enigma to its already fearsome reputation. It's like Jupiter has a single, baleful, crimson eye, staring out into the cosmos, daring anything to challenge it. Imagine this storm. It's wider than Earth. Winds at its periphery can rage at over 400 kilometers per hour. It rotates counterclockwise, a majestic, slow swirl on a timescale that dwarfs human experience, yet it's a vortex of unimaginable power. It's not fixed in place either. It drifts slowly along its latitude. For centuries it has raged, sometimes shrinking, sometimes appearing to intensify, a permanent feature of Jupiter's angry face. What fuels such a long-lived storm? The internal heat of Jupiter, escaping from its depths, combined with its rapid rotation, provides the energy. There are no continents on Jupiter to break it up, no land masses to provide friction and dissipate its energy as earthly hurricanes eventually do. So it just keeps going. A monument to sustained atmospheric violence. And it's not alone. While the Great Red Spot is the largest and most famous, Jupiter's atmosphere is peppered with other, smaller storms. White ovals, brown barges. Astronomers have wonderfully prosaic names for these planet-sized tempests. Some last for years, others for decades. They merge, they evolve, they spin off smaller vortices. It's a constantly changing, dynamic canvas. If you were to watch Jupiter over a period of weeks or months, you'd see this slow, majestic, yet incredibly violent dance unfold. It's like watching a pot of cosmic soup simmering on an impossibly large stove, with bubbles the size of countries forming and bursting. There's an ironic beauty to it, isn't there? This utter chaos, this unrelenting atmospheric war from a safe distance, resolves into patterns of stunning complexity and color. It's the universe reminding us that beauty doesn't always equate to peace or gentleness. Sometimes beauty is raw power. Sometimes it's the face of a storm that could tear our world apart. And yet, we can look upon it from our quiet, sleepy perch and find it fascinating, even dare I say relaxing, because its problems are so much bigger than ours. Its rage is so much more profound. It makes our own daily squabbles seem rather quaint. Oh, you're upset about the traffic? Jupiter's southern hemisphere just spawned a storm system that could swallow 3 of your entire planet. Perhaps some perspective is in order. Think about the sounds. If sound could travel through the vacuum to reach us here, it wouldn't be a gentle whisper. It would be a deafening, continuous roar. The shriek of winds, the crackle of lightning bolts 1,000 times more powerful than any on Earth. For Jupiter is also an electrical powerhouse, with auroras at its poles that dwarf our own northern and southern lights, driven by its immense magnetic field and the volcanic outpourings of its moon Io. We see the silent movie from out here, but imagine the soundtrack. It would be the ultimate heavy metal concert, played by the cosmos itself, with Jupiter on lead vocals, screaming its elemental fury. And yet, in this portrait of perpetual rage, there's a strange consistency. It is always stormy. It is always chaotic. There's a reliability to its unreliability. It's not going to suddenly become a calm, pastoral world. It is Jupiter. This is its nature. And this very nature, this violent, swirling, stormy disposition, is part of what makes it such an effective, albeit unwitting, guardian. Its sheer atmospheric depth and turbulence mean that anything unfortunate enough to plunge into it is unlikely to emerge unscathed or at all. It's not just a gravitational shield, it's also something of a cosmic shredder. So let that image burn into your mind, gently of course. The swirling bands of cream and rust, the hypnotic pirouette of the great red spot, the countless smaller storms that flicker and dance across its face. See it not as a threat, but as a testament to the universe's capacity for grandeur, for power, for a beauty that is entirely alien and utterly indifferent to our notions of comfort or safety. This is the face of the giant. Not a kind face perhaps, not a welcoming one, but a profoundly impressive one. And as you drift, let the sheer scale of its anger, its endless, beautiful, terrifying tantrum, somehow soothe you. Because it's out there, raging on its own, and you are here, safe, quiet, and slowly, ever so slowly, surrendering to sleep. The king is in his stormy counting house, and all is, for now, well in your little corner of the cosmos. Having marveled at Jupiter's furious face, a swirling masterpiece of meteorological mayhem, let's now delve deeper, past the visible chaos, into the unseen force that truly defines this giant, its gravity. It's an iron fist, yes, but one often cloaked in the velvet glove of orbital mechanics. This gravitational influence is the invisible hand that sculpts the surrounding space, the silent commander that dictates the fate of countless celestial wanderers, and most pertinent to our sleepy gratitude, the reason Jupiter acts as our solar system's somewhat reluctant bouncer. Understanding this pull, this fundamental cosmic power, is key to appreciating why we owe this grumpy giant a debt of thanks, or at least a respectful nod from our pillows. Gravity, as you know, is the force of attraction between any two objects with mass. The more mass an object has, the stronger its gravitational pull. And as we've established, Jupiter is the undisputed champion of mass in our planetary lineup. Its gravitational field is a behemoth, a vast well in the fabric of space-time, far deeper and wider than Earth's comparatively modest dimple. Imagine space-time as a stretched rubber sheet. Earth places a small depression in it. The Sun creates a huge, dominating central well. But Jupiter? Jupiter creates its own very significant, very influential secondary well, a distortion so profound it bosses around everything in its vicinity and much that isn't. This isn't a force that just keeps Jupiter's own 79 at last count. The number seems to grow with every new probe, like it's collecting them, moons in orderly, or sometimes not so orderly, orbits. No, Jupiter's gravitational reach is far more ambitious. It extends millions upon millions of kilometers, a sphere of influence that dominates the outer solar system and plays a crucial role in the architectural stability, or occasional dramatic instability, of the entire system. Think of the asteroid belt, that scattered ring of rocky debris between Mars and Jupiter. It's often portrayed as a densely packed minefield, a celestial demolition derby. The reality is far more sparse, but it still contains millions of objects, from dust grains to dwarf planets like Ceres. And why is it a belt of rubble rather than another planet? Jupiter is the prime suspect. During the early formation of the solar system, Jupiter's immense gravity likely stirred up this region, preventing the planetesimals, the small, primordial building blocks of planets, from coalescing into a larger body. Its constant gravitational nudges and tugs either ejected material from the belt entirely or kept it in a perpetual state of arrested development. So, in a way, Jupiter is responsible for the existence of the asteroid belt as we know it. A cosmic gravel pit it prevented from becoming a fully fledged construction. A bit of a mixed blessing, that one, creating a hazard zone but also, as we'll see, policing it. This gravitational policing is where Jupiter truly earns its bodyguard moniker, albeit with a hefty dose of cosmic indifference. Its gravity acts like a giant cosmic slingshot, or perhaps more accurately, a shepherd for wayward space rocks. Comets, particularly long-period comets arriving from the distant Oort cloud, and asteroids nudged out of the main belt, can find themselves on trajectories that might, if left unchecked, bring them into the inner solar system, uncomfortably close to Earth. These are the potential party crashers, the uninvited guests who might bring rather explosive housewarming gifts. When these objects pass too close to Jupiter, one of several things can happen, all dictated by the cold, hard calculus of orbital mechanics. Jupiter's gravity can capture them, turning them into temporary or even permanent moons. It's a prolific collector of celestial strays. It can also, and this is crucial for us, alter their orbits significantly. A well-timed gravitational nudge from Jupiter can sling an incoming comet or asteroid onto a completely different path, sending it out of the solar system altogether, or into a harmless orbit far from Earth. It's like a cosmic pinball machine, with Jupiter being the giant, superpowered flipper, deflecting rogue balls away from the precious Earth target. This isn't a conscious act of protection, of course. Jupiter isn't sitting out there thinking, "Oh, here comes another one, better give it a boot." Simply physics. An object with that much mass inevitably has that much gravitational influence. It's a passive defense system, but an incredibly effective one. Computer simulations of the solar system's history suggest that without Jupiter, the rate of asteroid and comet impacts on Earth would be significantly higher, perhaps hundreds or even thousands of times higher. Our planet would be a far more frequently battered and bruised place, and the chances for complex life to develop and survive would have been drastically reduced. We might not be here contemplating Jupiter's gravitational prowess if Jupiter itself wasn't so gravitationally present. Makes you feel a certain fondness for the big lug, doesn't it? Even if it's just a side effect of its existence. But this gravitational fist isn't always gentle or purely protective. Sometimes Jupiter's influence can be a bit more disruptive. It can also perturb asteroids into Earth-crossing orbits, though statistically, its overall effect is believed to be more protective than harmful. It's a complex dance, a celestial balancing act where Jupiter is the heaviest dancer on the floor, and everyone else just tries to stay out of its way or ride its gravitational wake. The Kirkwood gaps in the asteroid belt, regions mostly devoid of asteroids, are another testament to Jupiter's power. These are zones where orbital resonances with Jupiter make orbits unstable, effectively clearing them out. Jupiter doesn't just deflect, it actively sculpts its environment. And consider the Trojan asteroids, two large groups of space rocks that share Jupiter's orbit around the Sun, one group leading the giant planet and the other trailing behind, clustered at stable gravitational points called Lagrange points. These are, in essence, Jupiter's celestial entourage, prisoners of its gravitational might, forced to accompany it on its long journey around the Sun. Thousands of them, some quite large, all held in place by that unseen iron fist. It's a stark reminder of the sheer power we're dealing with, the ability to hold vast swarms of rock captive for billions of years. So, as you lie there, feeling the gentle pull of Earth's gravity holding you to your bed, expand that sensation. Imagine the far, far greater pull of Jupiter, a silent, invisible force shaping the destiny of worlds, a cosmic puppeteer whose strings are woven from the very fabric of spacetime. It's a force that, more often than not, works in our favor, a byproduct of being neighbors with a giant. A giant that, for all its stormy theatrics and sheer, overwhelming presence, quietly goes about its gravitational business, unintentionally making our little corner of the solar system a significantly safer, more tranquil place to drift off to sleep. Let the thought of that immense, unseen power, that quiet, indifferent guardianship, be a source of deep, cosmic comfort. We've felt the scale, witnessed the rage, and acknowledged the unseen gravitational dominion of Jupiter. Now let's put that power into a more dynamic context. Let's imagine a scenario, a silent drama played out in the cold vacuum of space, where Jupiter takes on the role of the unwitting bouncer, casually, almost disdainfully, dealing with a potential troublemaker. Picture this. A rogue comet, a wanderer from the icy depths of the outer solar system, is making its first and perhaps last, daring plunge towards the Sun. And its trajectory, dear listener, is a little too close for comfort to our delicate, blue home. This is the comet that didn't send an RSVP, the uninvited guest heading straight for the solar system's VIP section, where Earth happens to reside. Imagine this comet. It's a dirty snowball a few kilometers across, a relic from the birth of the solar system. For eons, it has drifted in the frigid darkness of the Oort cloud, a vast, spherical shell of icy bodies far, far beyond the orbit of Neptune. But something, a gravitational nudge from a passing star perhaps, or a collision with another icy denizen, has dislodged it. Now it's falling, accelerating, drawn by the Sun's gravity, on a journey that will take it through the heart of the planetary system. As it gets closer, the Sun's warmth begins to work its magic. The ice on its surface starts to vaporize, creating a fuzzy atmosphere, a coma, around its solid nucleus. Solar wind and radiation pressure sweep this gas and dust away, forming a magnificent tail, or perhaps two, one of dust, one of ionized gas, stretching for millions of kilometers behind it. It's a beautiful spectacle, a celestial visitor painting a transient streak across the starry canvas. Beautiful, yes, but potentially lethal if its path intersects with ours. Remember the dinosaurs? They weren't too thrilled with their cometary close encounter. A lesson in cosmic real estate. Location is everything, and so is avoiding multi-kilometer projectiles traveling at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. So, here comes our icy interloper, blissfully unaware of the havoc it might wreak. Its trajectory is plotted by the inexorable laws of physics, a graceful arc aimed squarely at the inner solar system. Earth is on its potential hit list. Panic on the part of the comet? None. It's a mindless chunk of ice and rock. Panic on Earth? Well, if we knew about it far enough in advance, there'd be a considerable amount of consternation, a flurry of scientific papers, and probably a few terrible disaster movies rushed into production. But wait. As our comet streaks inwards, past the orbits of Neptune and Uranus, past Saturn with its glorious rings, who might offer a polite, distant nod but is generally too preoccupied with its own aesthetic perfection to interfere, it enters Jupiter's vast sphere of gravitational influence. Jupiter, our grumpy giant, is oblivious to the comet's dramatic entrance. It's busy with its eternal storms, its internal heat generation, its casual management of 79+ moons. It doesn't see the comet in any conscious sense. It doesn't decide to act. Yet its presence is unavoidable. That deep gravity well we spoke of? The comet is now skiing down one of its outer slopes. And Jupiter, simply by being there, by possessing all that mass, exerts its inexorable pull. The comet's path, once a smooth, predictable curve, begins to bend. Not sharply at first, just a subtle deviation. But Jupiter is big and its influence is persistent. As the comet draws closer to the giant, the gravitational tug becomes more insistent, more powerful. Imagine you're the comet, a rather chilly and disorienting experience, I'd wager. One moment you're on a grand tour of the sun, the next, you're being unceremoniously manhandled by an invisible force emanating from a colossal, striped behemoth off to your port bow. Your carefully planned trajectory is being rewritten in real time. You might feel a certain sense of cometary indignation. Excuse me, I had plans? Important solar flyby business. But Jupiter doesn't care about your plans. Jupiter doesn't do apologies. It simply pulls. And depending on the precise geometry of the encounter, the comet's speed, its angle of approach, its proximity to Jupiter, one of several things can happen. If it's a very close pass, the comet might be torn apart by Jupiter's tidal forces, shredded into a million smaller, less threatening pieces. Messy but effective. Or it could be captured into orbit around Jupiter, becoming another temporary moon, its dreams of solar glory indefinitely postponed, now doomed to circle the giant in a cosmic Stockholm syndrome. More often though, and most beneficially for us, is the gravitational slingshot. Jupiter's gravity acts like a cosmic shepherd's crook, hooking the comet and flinging it onto a completely new path. It might be ejected from the solar system entirely, sent careening off into interstellar space, never to return. A one-way ticket to oblivion, courtesy of Jupiter's gravitational bouncery. Or its orbit might be altered so drastically that it's no longer a threat to the inner planets, perhaps shifted into a much longer period, or a path that keeps it safely in the outer solar system. And Jupiter? It continues on its orbit, unperturbed. Its storms rage on. Its moons continue their dance. It might experience a minuscule, immeasurable change in its own momentum from the encounter, the cosmic equivalent of a gnat bumping into an elephant. It doesn't send a bill for services rendered. It doesn't expect a thank you note. It just is. And in its being, it has, quite by accident, saved Earth from a potentially catastrophic impact. The comet that didn't call, the one that had potential global extinction event written all over its icy nucleus, has been dealt with quietly and efficiently by the solar system's largest, grumpiest, and most effective bouncer. This isn't a rare occurrence. Jupiter performs this service constantly, tirelessly, and entirely without intention. It's a numbers game. Given the sheer volume of debris left over from the solar system's formation, and the constant influx of new material from the Oort cloud and Kuiper belt, this gravitational sweeping action is vital. Without Jupiter diligently, if unconsciously, cleaning house, our little blue marble would be a far more hazardous address. So, as you drift in the quiet darkness, picture that scene. The silent, beautiful, deadly comet. The vast, indifferent, powerful giant. The invisible lines of gravitational force, bending, shaping, deflecting. And feel a wave of calm, a sense of security, knowing that out there, in the cold and the dark, the biggest bully in the schoolyard is more often than not on our side. Not because it likes us, but simply because it's there. And sometimes that's all the protection you need. A grumpy, gaseous, gravitational bodyguard, ensuring your dreams aren't interrupted by inconveniently large space rocks. We've imagined Jupiter's casual deflection of a hypothetical comet, a silent, gravitational nudge that saves our planetary bacon. But this isn't just theoretical, a comforting fireside tale of what if. There are very real, very dramatic instances recorded in astronomical history where Jupiter has quite literally taken one for the team. Or, more accurately, taken one because it was big and in the way, which, from our perspective, amounts to much the same thing. Let's journey back just a few decades in our own fleeting human timescale to witness an event that vividly demonstrated Jupiter's role as a cosmic punching bag: the spectacular collision of comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. This wasn't a gentle deflection. This was Jupiter actively eating a comet for Earth's, and the rest of the inner solar system's, continued peace of mind. A messy, chaotic, but undeniably effective save. The story begins in 1993. Astronomers Carolyn and Eugene Shoemaker, working with David Levy, hence the rather hyphenated name, discovered a peculiar object near Jupiter. It wasn't a single, solid comet. Instead, it looked like a string of pearls, a train of luminous fragments orbiting the giant planet. Further observations and calculations revealed a fascinating and rather ominous backstory. This comet, Shoemaker-Levy 9, had ventured too close to Jupiter on a previous pass, probably in July 1992. Jupiter's immense tidal forces, the same forces that cause tides on Earth but magnified to an almost unimaginable degree, had ripped the unfortunate comet apart. It had been stretched and torn, its nucleus fractured into at least 21 distinct pieces, now condemned to orbit their destroyer. Think about that for a moment. A comet, likely a respectable few kilometers in diameter, undone by sheer gravitational stress. It's like an ant straying too close to a blender. The forces involved are immense. Jupiter doesn't just pull things, it can shred them if they get within a certain proximity, known as the Roche limit. Shoemaker-Levy 9 had crossed that line and paid the price. A rather stark reminder of Jupiter's less gentle attributes. Not so much a bodyguard in this instance, more like a cosmic food processor. But the drama didn't end there. The calculations also showed something even more startling. These fragments, this celestial string of doom pearls, were on a collision course with Jupiter itself. The impacts were predicted to occur over several days in July 1994. For the first time in recorded history, humanity was about to witness, in real time, a collision between two significant solar system bodies. Every telescope on Earth, and the Hubble Space Telescope orbiting above, was pointed towards Jupiter. It was cosmic demolition derby, and Jupiter was the arena. Imagine the anticipation in the astronomical community. It was a unique opportunity to study the composition of a comet, the dynamics of Jupiter's atmosphere, and the physics of high-velocity impacts on a grand scale. For the rest of us, it was a somewhat unsettling spectacle, a reminder that the solar system isn't always the serene, clockwork mechanism it appears to be from our distant vantage point. Sometimes it's a place of violent, catastrophic encounters. And this time, thankfully, Jupiter was the one in the firing line. As the fragments, some estimated to be several hundred meters across, began their final plunge, one by one, they slammed into Jupiter's southern hemisphere. We couldn't see the impacts directly as they occurred on the side of Jupiter facing away from Earth at the time. But Jupiter rotates rapidly, remember? Its day is less than 10 hours. So, within a relatively short period, the impact sites would rotate into view. And what a view it was. Each impact released a tremendous amount of energy, equivalent to millions of megatons of TNT. Dark, bruise-like scars, some larger than the Earth itself, appeared in Jupiter's cloud tops. Plumes of superheated gas and debris were thrown high above the atmosphere, then rained back down, creating these distinctive, dark patches. These weren't just superficial smudges. These were profound disturbances, churning up material from deeper within Jupiter's atmosphere, revealing layers and chemistries previously hidden from us. For several weeks, these impact sites remained visible, slowly dissipating and being stretched and smeared by Jupiter's powerful winds. We watched, fascinated and perhaps a little horrified, as Jupiter essentially absorbed this cometary barrage. It took hit after hit. Fragment G, one of the largest, left a dark spot more than 12,000 kilometers across, roughly the diameter of Earth. Imagine that impact happening here. It doesn't bear thinking about, does it? The phrase extinction-level event springs rather unpleasantly to mind. But Jupiter, being Jupiter, took it all in its stride. Or rather, in its atmospheric churn. Did it flinch? Did its storms pause in respectful silence? Not a bit of it. The giant planet simply swallowed the cometary debris, its immense weather systems eventually erasing the scars as if they were minor blemishes. Within a few months, the most obvious signs of the impacts were gone, absorbed into the planet's relentless atmospheric circulation. Business as usual for the king of planets. A slight case of cosmic indigestion, perhaps, but nothing to write home about. The Shoemaker-Levy 9 event was a profound wake-up call. It demonstrated with undeniable clarity that comets and asteroids do hit planets, and with devastating force. And it highlighted, in a way no computer simulation ever could, Jupiter's crucial role as a gravitational shield. That comet, or something like it, could just as easily have been on a trajectory for Earth, had Jupiter not been there to intercept it, or to have captured and fragmented it in the first place. We essentially watched Jupiter take a salvo of cosmic bullets that could have been aimed at us. It's a rather stark thought, isn't it? Our continued existence, the calm of our nights, the very possibility of drifting off to sleep peacefully, is, in part, thanks to this distant, stormy giant that periodically gets pummeled by space rocks on our behalf. It's not doing it out of kindness. It's just big and it's there. A colossal, passive target that, by sheer probability and gravitational dominance, mops up a significant portion of the solar system's more hazardous debris. So, as the image of those dark, Earth-sized bruises on Jupiter's face fades in your mind, replaced by its usual grumpy, swirling countenance, take a moment. Acknowledge that messy, violent, but ultimately protective act. Jupiter eats for Earth. Or, at least, it eats things that might have otherwise eaten Earth. It's not a dinner party you'd want an invitation to, but we can certainly appreciate the after-effects from a safe distance. One less rogue comet to worry about. One more reason to be vaguely, sleepily grateful for the grumpy giant in the outer solar system. We've seen Jupiter act, both in hypothetical deflections and in the very real, very messy drama of Shoemaker-Levy 9. It's easy, almost natural, to slip into language that personifies the giant, casting it as a bodyguard, protector, hero. But now, as we drift in the quiet contemplative space of near sleep, it's time for a little dose of that acerbic cosmic realism I'm so fond of. It's time to confront the accidental bodyguard's secret. Jupiter isn't trying to save us. It doesn't know we exist. It doesn't care. And this, paradoxically, might be even more relaxing. No performance anxiety for Jupiter, no pressure to live up to a heroic reputation. It just is, and its being, by sheer cosmic happenstance, benefits us. Let's strip away the romantic notions just for a moment. Jupiter is not a sentient being, peering through the interplanetary void with a benevolent, or even grumpy but ultimately good-hearted, gaze towards Earth. It's a colossal ball of gas and liquid, primarily hydrogen and helium, obeying the fundamental laws of physics. Its immense gravity is a consequence of its immense mass. Its ability to deflect or capture comets and asteroids is a direct result of that gravity influencing the trajectories of smaller bodies that stray too close. There's no intention, no motive, no grand protective strategy. Imagine a very, very large rock in the middle of a fast-flowing river. That rock will inevitably alter the flow of water around it. It will create eddies, redirect currents, and perhaps shield smaller pebbles downstream from the full force of the water. Is the rock trying to protect the pebbles? Is it consciously making decisions about water management? Of course not. It's just a rock. A very big, very influential rock. Jupiter is that rock on a cosmic scale. We are the downstream pebbles, blissfully unaware, for the most part, of the turbulent currents it deflects. This realization can be, initially, a little deflating if you've built up an image of a noble, if cantankerous, guardian. It's like discovering your childhood hero was actually just a very well-programmed automaton. But I encourage you to lean into this apparent disillusionment, for within it lies a deeper, more profound comfort. If Jupiter's protection were intentional, it could also be fallible. It could get tired. It could decide we're not worth the effort anymore. It could, heaven forbid, go on strike for better orbital conditions. Earthlings, we demand fewer space probes and more respectful silences during our Great Red Spot appreciation hours. Until then, you're on your own with the asteroid situation. The thought is absurd, of course, but it highlights the unreliability of intentional protection. But accidental protection? That's far more dependable in a strange way. As long as Jupiter possesses its mass, and as long as the laws of gravity remain consistent, and they seem to be remarkably stubborn on that front, its protective influence will continue. It's a built-in feature of the solar system's architecture, not a service rendered. It requires no maintenance, no thank you cards, no motivational speeches. It just works as a consequence of being. This cosmic indifference can be incredibly liberating. The universe isn't actively hostile, nor is it actively benevolent, at least not on this grand planetary scale. It simply operates according to physical laws. And sometimes those laws, playing out with giant, unthinking entities like Jupiter, create pockets of relative safety, oases where fragile things like life can emerge and, with a bit of luck, persist. Earth happens to be in one of those pockets, partially shielded by a giant that doesn't even know it's doing us a favor. There's a certain dark humor in it too, isn't there? We owe our continued existence, in some small but significant measure, to a celestial behemoth that would crush us instantly if we got too close, whose atmosphere is a toxic high-pressure hell, and whose radiation belts would fry our delicate electronics and us, in short order. It's like being protected by a kaiju that just happens to be standing between you and an even bigger, meaner kaiju. You don't send it flowers, you just stay very, very quiet and hope it doesn't notice you. This understanding also puts our own existence into a starker, perhaps more realistic perspective. We are not the chosen ones, divinely shielded by a watchful protector. We are the beneficiaries of a fortunate cosmic accident, a fluke of celestial mechanics. It fosters a sense of humility, a quiet awe at the sheer, blind chance that allows us to be here, looking up at the stars, contemplating the very forces that, in a slightly different configuration, could have prevented our existence entirely. And this, my friends, is where the wry existential philosopher in me perks up. If our safety is an accident, a byproduct of indifferent physics, then what does that say about our significance? Perhaps it says we create our own significance. We are the universe, or a tiny part of it, becoming aware of itself, marveling at its own workings, even its own indifference. There's a strange beauty in that. We are the lucky dust motes, briefly illuminated in the grand, chaotic beam of cosmic light, shielded by a giant who is simply too big to care. So, let go of the idea of Jupiter as a conscious guardian. Embrace it as a magnificent, accidental bouncer. Its actions are not born of duty or affection, but of mass and gravity. And that's okay. In fact, it's better. It means the protection is reliable as long as Jupiter itself endures. It means we don't have to worry about it changing its mind. It means we can appreciate its beauty, its power, its sheer, overwhelming presence, without layering it with human emotions it doesn't possess. As you drift deeper into relaxation, let this thought settle. The universe is vast and largely indifferent. But within that indifference, there are patterns, there are consequences, there are accidental shields. Jupiter is one such shield. A beautiful, stormy, terrifyingly powerful, and entirely unintentional guardian. And knowing that this protection is just a happy side effect of cosmic mechanics can be a profoundly peaceful and deeply sleep-inducing realization. No need for cosmic gratitude emails. Just quiet, sleepy acceptance of our fortunate, gravitationally sheltered position. We've acknowledged Jupiter's accidental yet vital role as our solar system's bouncer. But a king, even a grumpy, gaseous one, often has a court. And Jupiter's court is a sprawling, diverse, and often deeply unsettling collection of moons. Let's take a brief, dreamlike detour to visit a few of its most prominent attendants, the Galilean moons Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. These aren't just quaint little rocks. They are worlds in their own right, each a testament to the complex gravitational dance orchestrated by their giant host, and each offering a unique flavor of cosmic wonder, or in some cases, thinly veiled horror. Perfect for lulling you into a state of profound existential contemplation just before sleep. First, let's drift towards Io. Even from a distance, it's alarming. Not pale and serene like our own moon, nor cratered and ancient-looking. Io is a lurid canvas of yellows, reds, oranges, and blacks. It looks less like a moon and more like a cosmic pizza that's been left in a very, very hot oven for far too long, or perhaps a particularly severe case of planetary acne. This violent coloring is no accident. Io is the most volcanically active world in the entire solar system. Not gently bubbling lava flows, mind you. We're talking colossal plumes of sulfur and sulfur dioxide erupting hundreds of kilometers into space, powered by the immense tidal forces Jupiter exerts upon it. Imagine being Io. You're constantly being squeezed and stretched by Jupiter's gravity, and to a lesser extent by the gravitational tugs of your neighboring moons, Europa and Ganymede, as you all orbit in a complex resonant dance. This constant kneading generates incredible internal friction, heating Io's interior to a molten state. The result? Over 400 active volcanoes, relentlessly spewing material onto its surface and into space. It's a world perpetually tearing itself apart and repaving itself with brimstone. The air, if you could call it that, is a thin, toxic soup of sulfur dioxide. The surface is a hellscape of lava lakes, volcanic calderas, and mountains uplifted by tectonic activity. Not exactly a prime holiday destination, unless your idea of a good time involves dodging sulfurous geysers and admiring landscapes that look like Dante's Inferno designed by a particularly angry artist. Makes that slightly overcooked dinner you had seem trivial, doesn't it? Now let's glide outwards past the tormented Io to Europa. At first glance, Europa is a stark contrast. It's a pale, icy billiard ball, crisscrossed by a network of dark reddish-brown streaks and cracks, like a fractured eggshell. It looks cold, serene, almost inviting. But this placid exterior hides a truly astonishing secret, one that has astrobiologists practically salivating. Beneath that icy shell, perhaps tens of kilometers thick, is believed to lie a vast global ocean of liquid saltwater. An ocean containing more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Think about that. An ocean warmed not by sunlight, for Europa is far from the sun, but by the same tidal forces that turn Io into a volcanic nightmare, though to a lesser, more gentle extent here. This internal heat could potentially sustain hydrothermal vents on Europa's ocean floor, similar to those found in the deepest, darkest parts of Earth's oceans, around which entire ecosystems of extremophile organisms thrive without any sunlight. Could there be life in Europa's hidden ocean? Alien fish? Cosmic squid? Or perhaps just very, very lonely microbes, silently contemplating the crushing darkness? The possibility is tantalizing, a beacon of hope in the search for life beyond Earth. But let's not get too carried away with romantic notions of swimming with Europan dolphins. That ocean, if it exists as we suspect, is under miles of solid ice. The pressure at the bottom would be immense. And while the prospect of life is thrilling, it's also a reminder of the extreme conditions under which life might exist, clinging on in the dark, cold depths, utterly oblivious to the universe above. It's a lonely kind of hope. And the surface? Exposed to Jupiter's ferocious radiation belts, it's a death zone for any Earth-like organism. So, a beautiful, enigmatic world, yes, but also a stark reminder of the fine line between a habitable environment and a frozen, irradiated tomb, with perhaps a layer of deeply buried, entirely inaccessible, to us for now, despair or wonder. Next in line is Ganymede, the largest moon in the entire solar system. It's bigger than the planet Mercury, bigger even than Pluto. Ganymede is a complex world, a captured king in Jupiter's court. It has its own magnetic field, a unique feature for a moon. Its surface is a patchwork of dark, ancient, heavily cratered terrain, and younger, lighter, grooved terrain, suggesting periods of geological activity in its past. Like Europa, there's evidence that Ganymede, too, might harbor a subsurface ocean of salt water, perhaps sandwiched between layers of ice. Another potential, deeply buried, incredibly remote cradle for life? Or just another vast, dark, sterile body of water? The universe plays its cards very close to its chest on these matters. Finally, we drift to Callisto, the outermost of the Galilean quartet. Callisto is the old, battered warrior of the group. Its surface is the most heavily cratered in the solar system, a testament to billions of years of enduring impacts without any significant geological resurfacing. It's dark, ancient, and seemingly geologically dead, or at least very, very quiet. It shows little evidence of the tidal heating that so dramatically shapes Io and Europa. It's like the stoic, silent member of the court, who has seen it all and has the scars to prove it. There's speculation that Callisto too might have a subsurface ocean, but it would be deeper still, and perhaps less likely to harbor life as we know it. It's a cold, distant sentinel, slowly accumulating the dust and debris of ages. These 4 moons, each a world of its own, offer a glimpse into the diverse possibilities that can arise under the dominion of a giant planet. From Io's fiery torment to Europa's icy promise, from Ganymede's regal complexity to Callisto's ancient stillness. They are not just passive companions, they are active participants in Jupiter's system, their orbits locked in a gravitational rhythm, their geologies driven by its immense power. And yet, for all their individual wonders and horrors, they also underscore a certain cosmic loneliness. Imagine existing on Europa, beneath miles of ice, in an eternal, sunless ocean. Or on Io, amidst constant volcanic cataclysms. These are not places that feel like home, not to us. They are beautiful, fascinating, scientifically vital, but also profoundly alien. They remind us that while Jupiter might accidentally protect Earth, its immediate neighborhood is a realm of extremes, a place where hospitable is a very relative term. It makes our own little blue haven with its breathable air and liquid surface water seem all the more precious and all the more fragile. A tiny, comfortable anomaly in a system dominated by a beautiful, terrifying giant and its equally extreme, if captivating, children. We've paid our respects to the Galilean Big Four, Jupiter's most famous and frankly, most dramatic lunar attendants. But the Jovian court is far more crowded than just Io's volcanic tantrums and Europa's icy mysteries. Beyond these giants, Jupiter commands a veritable swarm of smaller, lesser-known moons, a motley collection of captured asteroids and cometary fragments, each with its own quiet, often rather bleak, story of gravitational servitude. As we drift further from the heart of this miniature solar system within a solar system, let's contemplate these unsung, often unnamed, or at least unmemorably named, members of Jupiter's sprawling family, more moons than a celestial shepherd could reasonably keep track of, and certainly more than Jupiter offers any excuses for collecting. It's a testament to its hoarding instinct, or rather, its inescapable gravitational kleptomania. At last count, as I mentioned, Jupiter has 79 confirmed moons. 79. Our own Earth has one, a rather large and influential one to be sure, but just one. Mars has 2 tiny, captured potatoes. Jupiter, in its typical overachieving fashion, has a veritable legion. And this number is constantly under review. As our telescopes get more powerful, we keep finding more tiny specks of light dutifully circling the giant, like lost cosmic moths around an overwhelmingly bright and rather dangerous flame. Many of these outer moons are small, just a few kilometers across, irregularly shaped, and in retrograde orbits, meaning they orbit Jupiter in the opposite direction to the planet's rotation. This is a strong indicator that they weren't formed alongside Jupiter and the Galilean moons from the same protoplanetary disk. Instead, they are likely captured passers-by, asteroids or comet nuclei that strayed too close to Jupiter's gravitational well at some point in the distant past and found themselves unable to escape. They are cosmic strays, adopted not out of affection, but by the unyielding laws of physics. Imagine being one of these tiny moons. You were once a free agent, perhaps a wanderer from the Kuiper Belt or the asteroid belt, minding your own interstellar business. Then, you took a wrong turn, a celestial miscalculation, and ended up in the gravitational clutches of this behemoth. Now, your existence is defined by an endless, repetitive journey around a planet that is utterly indifferent to your presence. You are a tiny speck of rock or ice, locked in a cosmic dance you didn't choose for potentially billions of years. There's a certain stark existential loneliness to that, isn't there? Makes you appreciate the relative freedom of your own daily commute, however soul-crushing it may occasionally feel. At least you're not contractually obligated by gravity to circle a gas giant for eternity. These captured moons are often grouped into families, based on their orbital characteristics, their inclination, their eccentricity, their semi-major axis. Names like the Himalaya group, the Carmi group, the Ananke group, the Pacific group. These aren't exactly household names, are they? They sound more like obscure constellations or characters from a particularly dense mythological epic. Each group likely originated from a single larger captured body that subsequently broke apart due to collisions or Jupiter's tidal stresses. So, not only are they captured, but they're often fragments of something that was itself captured and then destroyed. Talk about adding insult to injury. Welcome to the Jovian system. We're pleased to inform you you've been gravitationally enslaved. As a welcoming gift, we've also pulverized your parent body. Enjoy your eternal, fragmented orbit. Jupiter really knows how to throw a welcome party. The surfaces of these small outer moons are typically dark, reflecting very little sunlight. They are thought to be rich in carbonaceous material, similar to many asteroids. They are ancient, battered, and largely unchanging, except for the occasional fresh crater from a minor impact. They are the silent, forgotten archives of the outer solar system, whispering tales of capture and celestial mechanics to anyone who cares to listen, which for the most part is no one. Consider the sheer scale of Jupiter's dominion. These outer moons can orbit at distances of tens of millions of kilometers from Jupiter, taking years to complete a single revolution. They are teetering on the very edge of Jupiter's gravitational stability, where the sun's pull begins to compete significantly. It's a precarious existence, a constant gravitational tug-of-war, with Jupiter usually winning but only just. And what of their ultimate fate? Some may eventually spiral into Jupiter, consumed by the giant they orbit. Others might be ejected from the system by a close encounter with another moon or a particularly strong gravitational perturbation. Most, however, will likely continue their lonely vigil for eons to come, silent, frozen testaments to Jupiter's gravitational reach. There's a profound sense of solitude out here, among these distant, captured wanderers. The sunlight is weak, a distant glimmer. Jupiter itself, though still huge in their sky, is further away, its stormy face less detailed, its immediate, violent presence somewhat muted. It's a cold, quiet, and deeply isolated existence. These aren't worlds teeming with potential like Europa might be. These are, for the most part, inert lumps of rock and ice, cosmic flotsam caught in an eddy. Yet even in their desolation there's a certain stark beauty. They are part of the grand tapestry of the solar system. They are evidence of its history, its formation, its ongoing evolution. And their sheer number, their bewildering variety of orbits and origins, speaks to the complexity and richness of even a single planetary system. Jupiter, it seems, is not just a bouncer. It's also an avid, if indiscriminate, collector of cosmic curios. A hoarder of moons. So, as you lie there, letting your thoughts drift, spare a moment for these forgotten members of Jupiter's court. The tiny, unnamed, irregularly shaped rocks, tracing their lonely paths in the cold and the dark. They are a reminder that the universe is full of quiet, unassuming existences, playing out their cosmic roles far from the spotlight. And their silent, endless circling, dictated by a power they cannot resist, can be a strangely soothing thought. A rhythm of profound, indifferent stability in a universe that often feels chaotic. They are caught, yes, but they are also held. And sometimes just being held, even by an indifferent giant, is a form of cosmic reassurance. We've admired Jupiter from afar, appreciated its accidental bodyguard services, and toured its eclectic collection of moons from the volcanically tormented Io to the distant, captured strays. But now, dear sleepy traveler, let's do something truly inadvisable, something utterly hypothetical, and plunge, just for a moment in our imaginations, beneath those swirling, iconic cloud tops. Let's dare to explore what lies within the depths of this gas giant, to imagine the crushing pressures and bizarre states of matter that characterize a place no sane atom, let alone a fragile human consciousness, would ever willingly visit. It's a journey into a realm of unimaginable extremes, a descent into a beautiful, terrifying alien hell that makes the concept of a bad day at the office seem positively delightful. First, remember there is no surface on Jupiter in the way we understand it on Earth. You wouldn't splash down into an ocean or thud onto solid ground. Instead, you'd simply descend into an atmosphere that grows progressively denser, hotter, and stranger. The cloud tops we see, those beautiful bands of ammonia ice crystals, are just the very uppermost layer, the visible skin of this colossal beast. This is the point where the atmospheric pressure is roughly similar to Earth's sea level pressure, maybe a bit less. But that's where the similarities end, abruptly and rather unpleasantly. As we begin our imaginary descent, the temperature and pressure start to climb rapidly. The sunlight, which was already weak at the cloud tops, fades quickly, absorbed and scattered by the thickening atmosphere. We pass through layers of ammonium hydrosulfide clouds, then deeper still, through clouds of water ice and water vapor, familiar substances perhaps, but under conditions that are anything but. The winds, already ferocious at the visible surface, would likely intensify in certain regions, creating unimaginable turbulence. It would be like being tossed around inside a planet-sized washing machine, set to a cycle of utter annihilation. Deeper and deeper we fall, or rather, are crushed. The pressure mounts relentlessly. 10 times Earth's atmospheric pressure, then 100, then 1,000. The temperature soars to thousands of degrees Celsius. At these depths, the hydrogen and helium that make up the vast bulk of Jupiter are no longer gases in the conventional sense. They are compressed into a supercritical fluid state, a bizarre phase of matter that has properties of both a liquid and a gas, with no distinct boundary between them. It's a thick, soupy, incredibly hot ocean of hydrogen and helium, swirling under unimaginable duress. And the lightning we mentioned? Down here it would be truly epic. Megabolts far more powerful than any terrestrial thunderstorm, discharging through this dense, exotic atmosphere. The sound, if you could somehow survive to hear it, would be a continuous, universe-shattering roar, a symphony of elemental power. But sound, of course, requires a medium, and you, dear listener, would be part of that medium, in a rather disassembled fashion. But we're not done descending. Oh no. Jupiter has far more wonders and horrors in store. As we go deeper still, perhaps 20,000 kilometers below the cloud tops, the pressure becomes so extreme, millions of times Earth's atmospheric pressure, that something truly extraordinary happens to the hydrogen. It transitions into a state known as liquid metallic hydrogen. Imagine that. Hydrogen, the simplest element, the lightest gas, transformed by sheer pressure into an electrical conductor, a liquid metal. This isn't something we can easily replicate in labs on Earth, not on this scale. This vast, spinning ocean of metallic hydrogen, deep within Jupiter, is believed to be the source of the planet's immensely powerful magnetic field. Currents flowing within this electrically conductive layer act like a giant dynamo, generating a magnetosphere that stretches for millions of kilometers, trapping charged particles and creating those intense radiation belts that make the Jovian environment so hazardous. So this strange, exotic substance is not just a curiosity, it's fundamental to Jupiter's character. What's it like, this ocean of metallic hydrogen? We can only speculate. It would be incredibly dense, unimaginably hot, and utterly alien. Perhaps it shimmers, a dark, reflective sea under crushing blackness. Or maybe it has a dull, metallic luster. No probe has ever reached it or ever could with current technology. It is a realm of pure scientific inference, a testament to the universe's ability to conjure states of matter that defy our everyday experience. It's like the mythical underworld, but instead of lost souls, it's populated by very, very compressed protons and electrons behaving in ways that make physicists both excited and slightly nervous. And beneath this metallic hydrogen ocean, does Jupiter have a core? For a long time, it was thought to have a relatively small, dense core of rock and ice, perhaps 10 to 15 times the mass of Earth, a remnant of the planetesimal that first began to accrete gas from the solar nebula. However, recent data from NASA's Juno mission, which has been making daringly close passes over Jupiter's poles, suggests a more complex picture. The core might be fuzzy or dilute, meaning the heavier elements are not neatly segregated into a compact ball but are mixed more extensively with the metallic hydrogen layer above. It's as if the core is partially dissolving into the immense pressures of the overlying layers. Jupiter, it seems, is still full of surprises, even in its deepest, most inaccessible regions. Imagine the very center of Jupiter. The pressure could be as high as 40 million Earth atmospheres, the temperature hotter than the surface of the Sun. It's a place where our understanding of physics is pushed to its limits. A point of unimaginable density and energy, the very heart of this giant, where the laws of nature manifest in their most extreme forms. It's a place so alien, so hostile, that it makes the vacuum of space seem like a cozy lounge by comparison. This journey into Jupiter's depths is, of course, a one-way trip for any physical object. Nothing we could build would survive the descent. But in our minds, we can make the journey, and in doing so, gain a deeper appreciation for the sheer brutal power contained within this planet. It's not just a pretty striped ball in the sky, it's a layered inferno, a realm of exotic physics, a testament to what happens when you gather an enormous amount of hydrogen and helium in one place and let gravity do its relentless work. So, as you float now, safely back in your imaginary bubble, far above those crushing depths, let the thought of that inner world settle. The swirling supercritical fluids, the vast ocean of liquid metallic hydrogen, the fuzzy, enigmatic core. It's a reminder that even the most familiar-looking objects in our sky can hide interiors of unimaginable strangeness and power. And sometimes, contemplating such profound alien hostility from a position of absolute safety is the ultimate cosmic lullaby. After all, what are your daily stresses compared to being a hydrogen atom on the verge of metallic transition? Perspective, as always, is key. Having braved the imaginary and frankly quite harrowing descent into Jupiter's crushing depths, let's retreat to a safer, more ethereal realm, the domain of its rings. Yes, Jupiter has rings. They're not the bright, spectacular, easily visible icescapes that make Saturn the solar system's undisputed fashion icon. Jupiter's rings are subtle, dusty, and almost ghostly, a faint, dusty crown for our unassuming protector. Or perhaps, if we're leaning into the grumpy giant persona, a touch of cosmic dandruff it hasn't bothered to brush off. They are easily overlooked, but like many of Jupiter's less ostentatious features, they tell a quiet story of cosmic processes and the giant's pervasive influence. Unlike Saturn's grand icy structures, which are bright enough to have been seen by Galileo, Jupiter's rings are so faint and diffuse that they weren't discovered until NASA's Voyager 1 spacecraft flew past the planet in 1979. It was a surprise, a little bonus discovery that added another layer of complexity to this already fascinating world. From Earth, they are virtually invisible, requiring powerful telescopes and specific viewing conditions to even glimpse their ethereal presence. They are the celestial equivalent of a whisper, easily lost in the roar of Jupiter's storms and the glare of its reflected sunlight. So, what are these faint halos made of? Primarily dust. Not big, icy chunks like Saturn's rings, but tiny particles, perhaps just micrometers in size, about the size of particles in cigarette smoke. This dust is thought to originate from impacts of micrometeoroids, tiny space debris, onto Jupiter's small inner moons, particularly Métis and Edristia, which orbit within the main ring itself, and Amalthea and Thebe, which are thought to be the source of the fainter gossamer rings that extend outwards. Imagine these little moons, orbiting close to the giant, constantly being peppered by tiny high-velocity projectiles. Each impact kicks up a cloud of dust. Some of this dust escapes the moon's weak gravity and goes into orbit around Jupiter, contributing to the ring system. It's a process of continuous, slow erosion, a gentle sandblasting on a cosmic scale, with the resulting debris forming these tenuous structures. So, in a way, the rings are a visible record of the constant bombardment that even Jupiter's innermost attendants endure. A rather bleak origin story for such a delicate-looking feature, like a beautiful lace collar woven from the detritus of minor accidents. The main ring is the brightest and densest part, relatively speaking, of course. It's about 7,000 kilometers wide, but perhaps only a few tens of kilometers thick, or even less. It's a remarkably thin, flat structure. Inside this main ring lies an even fainter, thicker torus of particles called the halo ring, which extends inwards towards Jupiter itself. Outside the main ring are the two very faint, very broad gossamer rings, named after the moons Amalthea and Thebe, whose material is believed to form them. These gossamer rings are particularly tenuous, like veils of cosmic smoke. One of the fascinating things about Jupiter's rings is that the dust particles within them don't last very long, cosmically speaking. Various forces, Jupiter's powerful magnetic field, pressure from sunlight, and the planet's own gravity, tend to cause these tiny particles to spiral inwards towards Jupiter, or to be ejected from the system, on timescales of hundreds to thousands of years. This is a blink of an eye in astronomical terms. This means that for the rings to exist at all, they must be constantly replenished. Those little inner moons, Metis, Adristia, Amalthea, and Thebe, are continuously shedding material, acting as persistent dust factories. The rings we see today are not ancient structures but are in a dynamic equilibrium, with dust being lost and resupplied all the time. It's a wonderfully subtle system. Not the showy grandeur of Saturn, but a more delicate, almost fragile beauty. Imagine floating near them in your protected bubble. You wouldn't see a solid, bright sheet. Instead, you might see a faint, shimmering haze, with individual dust particles catching the distant sunlight, like a diffuse cloud of glitter suspended in the blackness. It would be incredibly sparse. You could probably fly right through them without even noticing, unless you had very sensitive instruments. This isn't a place for grand vistas, but for appreciating the quiet, understated elegance of cosmic dust doing its slow orbital dance. And why are Jupiter's rings dusty while Saturn's are icy? It likely comes down to their formation and location. Saturn's rings are thought to be the remnants of a shattered icy moon or comet, or perhaps primordial material that never coalesced, kept in a deep freeze far from the sun. Jupiter, being closer to the sun and much warmer internally, would have made it difficult for large amounts of ice to persist so close to it in orbit. Any icy bodies that might have formed or been captured in the ring region would have likely had their ices vaporized and dissipated long ago, leaving behind only the rocky, dusty components. Or, as the current theory suggests, the dust is simply the ongoing product of impacts on rocky inner moons. Jupiter, it seems, is not a good curator of ice sculptures so close to its overwhelming presence. So this faint, dusty crown, this subtle halo, adds another layer to Jupiter's character. It's not just a brute, it also possesses this delicate, almost invisible adornment. It's a reminder that even the most powerful entities in the cosmos can have their softer, more understated aspects. It's also a testament to the ongoing, often destructive processes that shape planetary systems. The constant rain of micrometeoroids, the slow erosion of moons, the delicate balance of forces that allow such tenuous structures to persist, even if only fleetingly in cosmic terms. As you relax, letting your breath deepen, picture that faint, dusty glow around the mighty Jupiter. It's not demanding your attention. It's not shouting for recognition. It's just there, a quiet shimmer in the darkness, a subtle counterpoint to the planet's stormy grandeur. A reminder that sometimes, the most profound beauty is found not in the obvious and overwhelming, but in the faint, the transient, and the easily missed. A little bit of cosmic dust, artfully arranged by gravity and light, offering a moment of quiet contemplation before you drift off to sleep, perhaps dreaming of glittering, ghostly rings. We've explored Jupiter's chaotic atmosphere, its accidental protectiveness, its diverse moons, and even its faint, dusty crown. Now let's indulge in a bit of cosmic, what if, a sleepy contemplation of Jupiter as the star that sputtered out, the contender that never quite made it to the stellar big leagues. What if Jupiter had been more massive? What if it had ignited into a second sun in our solar system? It's a fascinating thought experiment, one that underscores just how finely tuned, or perhaps just how lucky, the conditions are for our relatively peaceful existence. And, as is our custom, it offers a slightly unsettling glimpse into an alternative reality that would be far less conducive to, well, us. As we touched upon earlier, Jupiter's composition is remarkably similar to that of the Sun, primarily hydrogen and helium. Stars shine because they are massive enough for the immense pressure and temperature in their cores to initiate nuclear fusion, the process of hydrogen atoms combining to form helium, releasing tremendous amounts of energy in the process. The threshold for this to happen, for a ball of gas to become a true star, is roughly 75 to 80 times the current mass of Jupiter. Our Jupiter, for all its gargantuan size relative to Earth, falls significantly short of this mark. It's a celestial heavyweight, but not quite a stellar superheavyweight. It's a brown dwarf in waiting that never quite got the call-up. So imagine an alternate solar system. In this parallel reality, the primordial cloud of gas and dust from which our solar system formed was just a bit more generous in Jupiter's vicinity. Our giant friend gathered more material, grew larger, and eventually, its core reached that critical ignition point. Suddenly, where once there was a large, reflective planet, there is now a small, dim, probably reddish star, a red dwarf, perhaps, or if it were just on the cusp, a more robust brown dwarf capable of fusing deuterium, a heavier isotope of hydrogen, for a period. Our solar system would now be a binary system. 2 suns in the sky. Sounds rather romantic, doesn't it? Double sunsets, as beloved by science fiction. Perhaps a little extra warmth. But the reality for a planet like Earth would likely be far more complicated and probably far more dire. Firstly, the orbital dynamics would be completely different. Earth orbits our Sun in a relatively stable, nearly circular path. Introduce a second, significant gravitational player like a small star in Jupiter's position, and all bets are off. Earth's orbit could become highly elliptical, leading to extreme temperature variations between its closest approach to one or both stars and its furthest point. Or worse, our orbit could become unstable altogether. We might be ejected from the solar system entirely, sent wandering as a rogue, frozen planet into the interstellar darkness. Or we could be drawn too close to one of the stars and incinerated. Binary star systems can and do host planets, but the habitable zones, the regions where temperatures allow for liquid water, are often much more complex and dynamically unstable. It's like trying to maintain a comfortable temperature in a room with 2 unpredictable, competing fireplaces. Even if Earth managed to cling to a stable orbit, the radiation environment would be significantly harsher. 2 suns mean more solar flares, more coronal mass ejections, more high-energy particles bombarding our atmosphere. Our magnetic field, which already works hard to protect us from our own sun's outbursts, might be overwhelmed. Life on the surface would be exposed to much higher levels of radiation, making complex life as we know it far less likely to develop or survive. We might all need to live underground or evolve very, very thick skin. And sunscreen sales would be through the roof, assuming there was anyone around to sell or buy it. And what about Jupiter's protective role? If it were a star, even a small one, its gravitational influence would be even more dominant, but perhaps not in a helpful way for deflecting comets. Its own stellar wind and radiation pressure might clear out smaller debris more effectively, but it could also perturb the Oort cloud and Kuiper belt in new and unpredictable ways, potentially sending more hazardous objects careening into the inner solar system. The bouncer might have become a rowdy patron itself, stirring up trouble instead of preventing it. The very nature of our night sky would be transformed. True darkness might become a rarity. The constellations we know would be harder to discern against the glow of a second, albeit dimmer, sun. Astronomical observations from Earth would be far more challenging. Our entire cultural relationship with the night sky, with its single moon and familiar stellar patterns, would be alien to us. It's a stark reminder of the delicate balance of cosmic factors that have allowed life to flourish here. Jupiter, as a failed star, is, in a wonderfully ironic twist, far more beneficial to us than a successful second star in its place would have been. Its failure is our gain. Its inability to ignite fusion is one of the quiet, unsung prerequisites for our quiet, unspectacular existence. This isn't to say that life is impossible in binary star systems. The universe is vast and endlessly creative. But our particular brand of life, evolved on a planet with a single relatively stable star, would find such conditions profoundly challenging, if not outright lethal. We are creatures of a particular cosmic circumstance. So, as you lie there, feeling the familiar comfort of your bed, under the gentle light of a single distant moon, if it's visible tonight, and the even more distant light of solitary stars, Take a moment to appreciate Jupiter's grand stellar underachievement. Be grateful for its failure. Its current state, a massive gas giant, not a small star, is a crucial ingredient in the recipe for Earth's long-term habitability. The universe, it seems, is full of these near misses and fortunate coincidences. The precise mass of Jupiter, its distance from the Sun, its relationship with the other planets, all these factors play a role in the intricate celestial mechanics that make our solar system a relatively safe, emphasis on relatively, place to call home. Change one of those variables significantly, like turning Jupiter into a star, and the whole delicate structure could unravel. It's a humbling thought. Our existence isn't just a product of what is, but also of what isn't. We thrive in the absence of a second sun in our immediate vicinity. We benefit from Jupiter's gravitational grunt precisely because it isn't radiating stellar fury. So, let a wave of sleepy gratitude wash over you for the star that sputtered out, for the giant that stayed a giant, and for the profound, beautiful, and utterly accidental stability that allows you to drift peacefully towards dreams, untroubled by the glare of a second, unwelcome sun. We've considered Jupiter as a failed star, and in that failure found a strange sort of comfort. Now let's zoom back out, pulling our imaginary viewpoint away from Jupiter itself, and turn our gaze towards our own tiny, fragile home, Earth. From this interplanetary perspective, nestled metaphorically in Jupiter's vast gravitational shadow, we can truly begin to appreciate the improbable oasis we inhabit and the profound, almost absurd luck of our situation. Jupiter, the grumpy giant, doesn't know we're here. It doesn't care. And yet, its mere presence, its sheer indifferent bulk, contributes significantly to the thin, delicate bubble of habitability that allows us to fret about mortgages and what to have for dinner. Imagine Earth, a small blue marble flecked with white clouds, suspended in the inky blackness. It looks so breakable, so isolated. And it is. We are adrift in a cosmos that is, for the most part, actively hostile to life as we know it. Vacuum, extreme temperatures, lethal radiation, and a constant peppering of cosmic debris are the norm. Our planet, with its relatively stable climate, its liquid water, its protective atmosphere and magnetic field, is an extraordinary anomaly, a statistical outlier, a precious, perhaps exceedingly rare jewel. And one of the key factors contributing to this oasis-like quality as we've been exploring is Jupiter. Not as a conscious gardener tending to its prize flower, but as that aforementioned very large rock in the cosmic river, unintentionally creating a calmer, more sheltered eddy downstream where Earth can flourish. We exist in Jupiter's gravitational lee, benefiting from its silent, ceaseless sweeping of potential impactors. Consider the sheer number of objects out there that could intersect Earth's orbit. The asteroid belt, though mostly stable, occasionally leaks. The Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud are vast reservoirs of icy bodies, any one of which, if nudged onto the right trajectory, could spell disaster for us. The early solar system was a far more violent place, a shooting gallery of planetesimals and debris. The late heavy bombardment, a period a few hundred million years after the planets formed, pockmarked the moon and the inner planets with colossal impacts. Life, if it had gained a foothold then, would have had a very rough time. Jupiter, through its gravitational influence, likely played a significant role in clearing out much of this early debris, and continues to act as a filter, a cosmic bouncer, reducing the frequency of large impacts on Earth. It's not a perfect shield, of course. Impacts still happen. The dinosaurs can attest to that. And smaller objects slip through all the time, burning up as meteors in our atmosphere, a beautiful, fleeting reminder of the cosmic rain we live under. But the really big, civilization-ending impacts? Jupiter significantly lowers the odds. It's like living in a slightly rough neighborhood, but having a very large, very intimidating, and entirely oblivious neighbor whose mere presence scares off most of the serious trouble. You don't invite them over for tea, but you're quietly glad they're there. This protection is, as we've stressed, entirely accidental. Jupiter isn't thinking about Earth. It's simply obeying the laws of physics on a grand scale. Its mass dictates its gravitational field, and that field, in turn, dictates the dance of smaller bodies. We are the fortunate beneficiaries of this mindless, mechanical process. There's a starkness to that, a lack of cosmic sentimentality which can be, in its own way, deeply reassuring. Our safety doesn't depend on the whims or moods of a celestial deity. It depends on the predictable, immutable laws of nature playing out on a grand stage. This sense of existing in Jupiter's shadow, its protective umbra, should foster not arrogance, but a profound humility. We are here not because we are special or chosen, but because of a series of fortunate cosmic coincidences, one of which is having a giant like Jupiter as an outer solar system companion. It should make us cherish this improbable oasis all the more. Our thin atmosphere, our liquid oceans, the delicate web of life that clothes our planet. These are not givens. They are precious, perhaps rare, conditions, maintained by a complex interplay of factors, including the silent, gravitational vigilance of a distant, indifferent giant. It also brings a certain philosophical clarity to our place in the universe. We are small. Our world is vulnerable. Our existence is, on a cosmic timescale, fleeting. And yet, here we are, capable of contemplating these vast truths, of looking out into the cosmos and understanding, even in a small way, the forces that shape our destiny. There's a certain dignity in that, a quiet defiance of cosmic indifference. We are the universe made aware, however briefly, however locally. Think about the sheer, unadulterated luck involved. If Jupiter had formed slightly closer to the Sun or slightly further away, if it had been significantly more or less massive, the architecture of the solar system could be radically different, and perhaps far less hospitable to life on Earth. We are living in a Goldilocks scenario, not just with our Sun, but arguably with Jupiter as well. It's just the right size in just the right place to perform its accidental bodyguard duties without also disrupting our own orbit too severely. It's a delicate, almost unbelievable balance. So, as you lie there, cocooned in the safety of your home, on this small blue planet, let the vastness of space and the indifference of Jupiter wash over you. Not as a source of anxiety, but as a profound reminder of your own improbable, precious existence. You are here now, breathing, thinking, feeling, in large part because a giant ball of gas billions of kilometers away is simply being itself. It's a beautifully absurd truth. A cosmic joke with a life-affirming punchline. Let the knowledge of our improbable oasis, sheltered in Jupiter's vast, unthinking shadow, lull you into a state of peaceful acceptance. We are tiny, yes. We are fragile, yes. But we are also incredibly, wonderfully lucky. And sometimes acknowledging that luck, that sheer, dumb, cosmic fortune, is the most relaxing thought of all. Sweet dreams from your little, protected corner of the indifferent universe. We are drawing our sleepy sojourn to Jupiter towards its close. We've marveled at its scale, its storms, its accidental guardianship, its diverse and often unsettling moons, its ghostly rings, and the sheer luck of its failed star status contributing to our own terrestrial tranquility. Now, as we begin our imaginary drift back towards our own familiar planetary neighborhood, let's linger for a moment on the sound, or rather, the imagined soundscape of Jupiter. Let's find a strange, paradoxical solace in its perpetual violent storms, allowing them to become a chaotic lullaby from a guardian that asks for, and indeed expects, nothing in return. Of course, in the vacuum of space, sound as we know it doesn't travel. Our spaceship, our mental bubble, is silent, save for the gentle hum of our own thoughts. But if we could translate the immense energies of Jupiter into an audible experience, what would it be? It certainly wouldn't be a gentle celestial harp. It would be a symphony of unimaginable power, a continuous, deafening roar of elemental forces. Imagine first the winds. Not breezes, not gales, but planet-circling jet streams moving at hundreds of kilometers per hour. The shearing between these colossal rivers of air, the zones and belts grinding against each other, would create a sound like a billion freight trains derailing simultaneously, forever. A deep, resonant, grinding hum that would vibrate through your very bones, if your bones hadn't already been crushed by the pressure or vaporized by the heat. This would be the bass note of Jupiter's song, a constant, underlying thrum of immense atmospheric friction. Then add the storms. The great red spot, that anticyclonic vortex larger than Earth, wouldn't be a silent swirl. It would be a howling, shrieking banshee of a storm, a vortex of sound to match its visual fury. Its winds, screaming at its periphery, would generate a cacophony of registers, from the deepest rumbles to the highest, most piercing whistles. And it's not alone. The thousands of smaller ovals, barges, and transient storms, each a tempest in its own right, would contribute their own voices to this chaotic orchestra, pops, crackles, whooshes, and groans, all on a planetary scale. It's the sound of weather utterly unrestrained, a continuous, evolving composition of atmospheric violence. And we mustn't forget the lightning. Jupiter's lightning bolts, as we've noted, are far more powerful than anything on Earth. Megabolts and superbolts, discharging with the energy of thousands of terrestrial strikes. Each flash would be accompanied by a deafening crack and rumble of thunder, not the relatively brief claps we hear on Earth, but prolonged, echoing peals that would reverberate through the dense, deep atmosphere for minutes, perhaps hours. Imagine a continuous planet-wide electrical storm, its thunderclaps merging into an unending, explosive roar. It's the percussion section of this Jovian symphony, adding a sharp, startling, and utterly terrifying rhythm. Deeper down, in that bizarre realm of supercritical fluids and liquid metallic hydrogen, the sounds would become even stranger, more alien. The immense pressures and temperatures would likely create phenomena beyond our direct experience, perhaps deep, resonant groans as vast currents of metallic hydrogen flow, or the shriek of matter being compressed to unimaginable densities. It's the sound of a planet's internal organs working under colossal strain, a primal, gut-wrenching symphony of extreme physics. This imagined soundscape is admittedly terrifying. It's the sound of raw, untamed power, of a world in constant, violent turmoil. So how, you might ask, can this possibly be a lullaby? How can contemplating such an infernal orchestra bring solace or sleep? Here lies the paradox, the wry twist that we so often find in our cosmic explorations. It's precisely because this symphony of storms is so immense, so alien, so utterly indifferent to us, that it can be calming. Its problems are not our problems. Its rage is not directed at us. It is simply the natural expression of a giant planet's energetic processes. It will continue to rage whether we listen or not, whether we exist or not. There's a certain liberation in that. Our own anxieties, our daily stresses, the petty squabbles and worries that fill our minds, seem so laughably small when juxtaposed with a storm that could swallow our entire world. Jupiter's roar is a cosmic reset button for perspective. It doesn't diminish our feelings, but it places them within a vaster context, capital V, capital C for emphasis. It's like listening to the ocean during a storm. The sheer impersonal power of nature can be awe-inspiring and strangely cleansing. Moreover, there's a consistency to Jupiter's chaos. It is always stormy. It is always raging. The great red spot has been swirling for centuries. The lightning is a constant feature. This isn't a sudden, alarming outburst. It's the planet's normal state of being. And in that predictability, even in its violence, there can be a strange sort of comfort. It's a known quantity. We don't expect Jupiter to suddenly become a tranquil paradise. We expect it to be Jupiter. And it delivers reliably with its magnificent, terrifying storms. So, as you lie there on the cusp of sleep, let this imagined symphony of Jupiter wash over you. Don't try to analyze it or understand its every nuance. Just let it be a background hum, a distant, powerful drone that speaks of cosmic scales and energies far beyond our own. Let the roar of its winds blow away your worries. Let the rumble of its thunder shake loose your tensions. Let the sheer, indifferent majesty of its eternal storms remind you that the universe is vast and wild, and that you are a tiny, precious part of it, currently safe and sound. This is the lullaby of the indifferent guardian. A song not of gentle whispers and sweet melodies, but of elemental fury and colossal power, a sound that, by its very immensity and detachment, allows your own small, tired mind to finally let go, to surrender to the quiet, peaceful oblivion of sleep, knowing that the giant is out there, raging on your behalf, or at least, raging in a way that coincidentally keeps your little world a bit safer. A chaotic, beautiful, and ultimately sleep-inducing cosmic noise. And so, our sleepy voyage to the realm of Jupiter, our grumpy, gaseous, and gravitationally gifted bodyguard, draws to its inevitable conclusion. We've peered into its stormy soul, felt the tug of its immense gravity, witnessed its accidental heroics, toured its strange and varied moons, glimpsed its ethereal, dusty crown, and even imagined the unimaginable conditions within its depths. We've pondered the solar system that might have been, had Jupiter ignited into a star, and reflected on our own improbable oasis, thriving in its indifferent shadow. It's been quite the journey, a mental expedition to the king of planets, a being of beautiful, terrifying, and ultimately life-sustaining, for us anyway, indifference. As we begin our gentle, imaginary drift back towards the familiar comforts of Earth, back towards the soft embrace of your bed, let's gather the lingering impressions, the cosmic takeaways from our encounter with this colossal neighbor. Jupiter, in all its swirling, chaotic glory, has reminded us rather forcefully of our own smallness. And this, as we've discovered, is not a cause for existential despair, but rather a profound source of ironic comfort. When faced with a storm that could swallow planets whole, that overdue library book suddenly seems a little less catastrophic, doesn't it? We've seen how Jupiter's sheer mass, its unseen iron fist of gravity, acts as a cosmic bouncer, deflecting or capturing rogue comets and asteroids that might otherwise pose a threat to our fragile blue world. We witnessed, in the dramatic impact of comet Shoemaker-Levy 9, Jupiter quite literally taking hits for the team, absorbing cosmic blows with an indifference that borders on the sublime. It didn't send a bill, it didn't even flinch, not really. It just kept on being Jupiter, a testament to the fact that sometimes the best protection comes not from intention, but from sheer, unadulterated bigness. We also confronted the accidental bodyguard secret. Jupiter isn't trying to save us. It doesn't care. Its protective actions are a byproduct of physics, a fortunate consequence of its place and scale in the solar system. And this, we found, is perhaps even more reassuring. No need to worry about it changing its mind or getting offended if we don't send enough appreciative space probes its way. Its guardianship is as reliable as the laws of gravity themselves, a constant, unthinking shield. Our brief tour of the Galilean moons, from Io's volcanic hellscape to Europa's tantalizingly hidden ocean, and Ganymede and Callisto's ancient, icy mysteries, highlighted the extreme environments that can exist even in the shadow of such a giant. These worlds, each fascinating and terrifying in its own right, serve to underscore the precious rarity of Earth's comparatively gentle conditions. And beyond them, the countless smaller, captured moons, lonely rocks and eternal, indifferent orbit, painted a picture of Jupiter as a prolific, if unintentional, collector of cosmic strays, a hoarder of celestial solitude. We even dared to plunge into Jupiter's atmosphere, imagining the crushing pressures and the bizarre ocean of liquid metallic hydrogen, a journey into a realm so alien it makes the void of space seem welcoming. And we glimpsed its faint, dusty rings, a subtle crown for this giant, a reminder that even the most overwhelming entities can possess moments of quiet, understated beauty, woven from the debris of constant, minor impacts. Pondering Jupiter as a failed star gave us a fresh appreciation for its current, non-stellar state. Its underachievement in the stellar ignition department is, ironically, a key ingredient in our own planet's long-term habitability. Sometimes, cosmic failure is the bedrock of terrestrial success. Ultimately, our journey to Jupiter has been a journey into perspective. It has shown us the raw power of the universe, its capacity for both creation and destruction, its beautiful indifference, and the sheer, dumb luck that allows a tiny spark of consciousness like humanity to exist and contemplate it all. We are, in many ways, the children of cosmic circumstance, sheltered by a giant that doesn't know our name, thriving in an oasis that exists against incredible odds. So, as you feel yourself drawing closer to sleep, let the image of Jupiter settle in your mind. Not as a threat, not even as a conscious guardian, but as a vast, impersonal, and strangely beautiful force of nature. A constant in our solar system, its storms raging, its gravity shaping the space around it, its presence a silent, unacknowledged contributor to the peace you feel right now. We owe it a sleepy salute, a quiet nod of thanks for services unknowingly rendered, for being the grumpy, protective giant that it is, allowing us, the tiny, fleeting inhabitants of a small blue marble, to dream our little dreams in relative safety. And now, little speck of stardust, conscious and questioning, let the vastness recede. Jupiter, with its swirling storms and indifferent grandeur, fades into the soft velvet of your mind's deep space. The weight of its gravity, the imagined roar of its winds, the unsettling beauty of its chaotic moons, let them all become distant echoes, reminders of a journey taken, a perspective gained. You are back, or perhaps you never truly left, nestled in the quiet sanctuary of your own small, perfect place in the cosmos. The universe, as we've explored tonight, is indeed a place of stark, harsh, and sometimes unromantic realities. It's filled with crushing pressures, lethal radiation, and a scale so immense it can make one feel utterly insignificant. It is, in many ways, profoundly indifferent to your existence, your worries, your triumphs. And yet, within that very indifference, there's a strange and profound permission to simply be. If the universe isn't micromanaging your life, perhaps you don't need to either, at least not tonight. Jupiter doesn't care if you filed your taxes, or if you remembered to call your mother, or if you're worried about tomorrow. It will continue its majestic, stormy dance regardless. And that, in a beautifully ironic way, is a profoundly liberating thought. Its colossal concerns are not your concerns. Its ancient rages are not your rages. You are free to let them go, to release them into the cosmic winds. So, as you drift on the final currents towards sleep, remember this. While the universe is indeed vast and often terrifying, and doesn't particularly care if you understand its grand, indifferent plan, tonight, in this safe haven of your mind, none of that can truly touch you. Here you are sheltered. Here you are at peace. The cosmic dramas will play out, the giants will grumble, the comets will fly, but for now your only task is to rest. To surrender to the gentle pull of sleep, as certain and as natural as gravity itself. Sweet dreams. You've contemplated the immensity. You've faced the indifference with a wry smile. You'll need them.